Now, George Santos, we just got a copy of a transcript of that's not public yet of one of the witnesses in this federal investigation. And it is a pretty bizarre tale about inappropriate conduct in the office. But instead of getting my reckoning, Dusty has on the phone a source close to the investigation, whose name is Derek Myers. Derek, you're on the phone with us right now. How do you know about what's going on with this investigation?
Well, Chris, when I was working for the congressman as a legislative aide, I was approached and spoke with FBI agents about infiltrating the congressman. My employment with the congressman's office ultimately ended up ending shortly thereafter for other reasons. But I think tomorrow when we see these documents unsealed, we're going to see a lot of things such as witness A, confidential informant 1, confidential informant 2. The FBI was actively looking for someone close to the congressman so they could infiltrate him and try to get information from within his inner circle. So tomorrow when these documents are unsealed, we're going to see a lot of that probably be listed in there.
Two questions. First, process. When you say infiltrate, are you suggesting that the federal authorities were doing something that you thought was unfair?
No, I think they were looking for a human asset, somebody close to the congressman who could feed them information. So somebody within his inner circle. It's not inappropriate for them to do that. They do that quite often.
Now, what am I reading here in this witness 1 account? You've seen this. What does it seem that this person was revealing to the federal authorities about Santos?
Well, it certainly was revealing that he had a history of misconduct, that they were close to him, and that it was something that they were going to be able to relay to federal authorities once they had intel and information to get back to him. Tomorrow, when we see likely the congressman hand himself over, these charges are going to be related to fraud and finance, not so much as actual conduct within the office as a congressman. So everything leading up to his swearing in, and things that he's done.
So you think that the charge is about finance, but this witness account is about inappropriate contact, and the witness being worried that that he had been inappropriately touched, or they had been inappropriately touched, and that they were certain it would happen again, and it would have advanced. I wasn't sure how to handle it. But this is what witness 1 was saying, and you would know that because that's you, right?
That is correct. So the FBI was heavily looking into the congressman from day 1 when he was sworn into office until today. So there are people within his office that are going to be key witnesses that come out in this criminal probe when the charges are
announced. Just to be very clear, Derek, you're saying that there may be charges that have to do with financial irregularities and whatever his disclosures were, but your testimony to the FBI was that you had been inappropriately touched by the congressman. Is that true?
That is correct, and I think we can see that play out as well. The ethics committee, of course, is still looking into that, and now they've got a whole nother ballgame that they have to look into. The speaker is not going to have a choice now but to address these allegations and these criminal charges when they are handed down tomorrow. A lot of people have asked me today, since this news broke, is the congressman going to resign? And the reality is he's not going to resign, Chris, because he can't afford to resign. The man has no money elsewhere. This is his sole source of income. He had no income prior. The loan he allegedly gave to his campaign was not a legal loan. We're going to see that come out tomorrow in these unsealings. And so the man's not going to resign from Congress. He can't afford it. He's going to have to wait until he's pushed out because he's relying on that paycheck.
Well, we're going to see what the charges are tomorrow. What can you tell us about the context of what you deemed inappropriate, and because it's vague in this aspect of the deposition, and do you expect the FBI to act on it?
The FBI is well aware of it. I can't say right now on air if they're going to move forward or not. The charges tomorrow are certainly probably just the start of what we're going to see, an avalanche of things to come down to the congressman.
How would you characterize what the congressman did to you that was inappropriate? What made it inappropriate?
Well, what's inappropriate to me, Chris, and what's inappropriate in the workplace are two different things. So, what somebody may make an advance to you it may not be inappropriate to you, but is it inappropriate in the workplace? And I think we can see that's ruled as inappropriate conduct in the workplace by standards of the congressional ethics, not necessarily by someone's personal standards.
So you're
what
saying
one personally finds.
So you're saying that the congressman hit on you, is what you're saying?
Well, certainly, yeah. Well, we've already established that he did, that he made a move on me, he tried to sleep with me. You know, we already know that he tried to do those things. So that's established. We know that he touched my leg inside his office, and then he proceeded to touch my groin inside his office. So we know those things have been well established and backed up. But the FBI was aware of these things, and certainly I think tomorrow is just going to be the start of what we see coming out. These are federal charges. I think we're going to see state charges come out too very soon, and we might also see some charges come out of D.C. as well.
Last question, Derek. Have you been approached by the Ethics Committee or any Republicans looking to hold Mr. Santos to account?
No Republicans with themselves, but I can tell you that I'm sitting down in the coming days and weeks. We have something on the calendar with the actual congressional body of the Ethics Committee. They have asked for me to come in for an interview, and then they will see if they want to decide at that point if it's going to advance to an actual public hearing, which would be streamed on television or C-SPAN. So we expect my counsel and myself to be sitting down with them in the next week or two.
Did you leave because of this, or you just left coincidentally?
No, the congressman actually terminated me, and he claims that he terminated me for reasons other than the ones that are stated, that I wouldn't sleep with him. We really don't know why he terminated me, other than that he did shortly a week after I got rid of his advances and would not sleep with him. So,
Derek Myers, I appreciate your candor. Thank you for doing this. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.